All right, before we begin today, I'd like to ask you all to just take a moment and evaluate your posture right now. So we're all sitting in desks. It seems like there can't really be that many different ways that we're all sitting, but some of you have your shoulders hunched forward, perhaps your elbows are on your desk or your chin is in your hands. Maybe you're resting your feet on the seat above you, maybe you're crossing your legs at the knee. So whatever it is, we're all expressing our posture in a very different way. Now, we're all masters at reading body language. I use quotation marks because body language is really just a common term that you and I use to describe what is actually known as kinesics, which is the way we interpret body emotion, communication, and posture and gestures. So today, I'm going to illustrate for you the impact of body language in our daily interactions. Lots of times when we think about body language, we think about how others perceive us or how we perceive others. But not often do we think about how our body language actually affects ourselves. So over the next few minutes, we're going to discuss how posture relates to our sense of self, how we practice different postures based on our gender, and how different gestures are used to supplement posture, and how that all helps us to send a message to people when we're communicating. To begin, we have to start with a study done by Professor Mahabrian. He's the author of a book called Silent Messages, and this is a very widely misquoted study. So we have that communication is 7% verbal and 93% nonverbal, but the way people misquote it all the time is by saying communication is 7% verbal and 93% body language. That's incorrect. It's 7% verbal, 38% tone of voice, and 55% body motion language, so body language. For today, just for the sake of time, we're just going to focus on the 55% slice of the pie, which is body language. The first thing we notice about someone is usually their posture, whether that's conscious or subconscious. Posture tells us a lot about how someone feels, if they're feeling confident or open or submissive. So posture has a lot to do with the way we perceive people, how others perceive us, and how we feel about ourselves. In a 2012 TED Talk in New York City, a woman named Amy Cuddy, she's actually a professor at Harvard and she does a lot of research there. She gave a talk about how power poses impact the way we feel about ourselves. She says that she can tell in her MBA classroom when a student walks in how well they're going to participate that day, if they'll even participate at all. And with that, she can use that to predict their success in her course, and even in some cases if they've gone on to graduate and get their degrees. So Amy Cuddy says that she can tell when someone walks in. A lot of times they'll walk in, they walk straight to the center of the room, they take up a lot of space, they sit like this and they raise their hand like this. She says other students, she can tell when they walk in, they're sort of caving in on themselves. They make themselves very tiny, and when they raise their hand, it looks something like this. They tend to sit like this or like this, and they just make themselves very small. So Amy Cuddy says that if we practice the power pose, this is going to sound kind of strange, but if you stand like this for 2 minutes every day, you can automatically make yourself feel more powerful. And she says that in turn will make you more successful. Another thing that's interesting is that posture is really related to how we practice masculinity and femininity. So not surprisingly, a lot of Amy Cuddy's students, the ones that seem to shrink and make themselves smaller, tended to be female students. The one that seemed to occupy tons of space and raise their hand like this were her male students. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you right now. There's another study by Karina Camp called Practicing Gender in Postures. I just want you to tell me if this posture is male or female.
Male.
All right. What about this one?
Female.
Very good. What about this one?
Female.
And what about this one?
Male.
You guys are good. So it's pretty obvious. We have these sort of things that we've been socialized to think are male or female characteristics, and that has a lot to do with the way we communicate and the way we interact with other people. Posture is pretty universal. As you just saw, you were able to tell me if I was practicing being a male or a female, but something that's less universal is hand gestures. The human body is capable of making 5,000 different hand motions using their hands and their arms. So a lot of these can be misconstrued depending on the context. For instance, crossing your arms. If I'm having an argument with a significant other, I'm probably going to look really irritated. It might be an indication of I'm really serious right now. If I'm crossing my arms during a job interview, I might appear to be disinterested or even a little bit pretentious, like possibly too good to be there. If I'm crossing my arms and I'm whale watching in Antarctica and my shoulders are hunched like this, I'm probably just freezing. So there are so many different ways we can take a gesture and misconstrue it. We have to make sure to always take it in context. Another one is the thumbs up. In Western countries, thumbs up means great job. Bless you. In Italy, a thumbs up means 1, the number 1. In Japan, it means the number 5. And in Greece, it's not to be confused with any of these because in a heated argument, people say, up yours. So that's what a thumbs up is in Greece. As you can see, gestures aren't really universal, but on the whole, body language is really effective in showing how we really feel. Our posture is obviously a really important indicator, but combined with the 5,000 different hand motions we can possibly make, posture affects how we feel about ourselves, how others perceive us, and how we perceive others. It's amazing. Over the past 8 minutes, I've kind of seen some of you guys straighten up or maybe take your elbows off your desk. I've seen your shoulders go back. I've seen some feet go flat on the ground instead of on the chair in front of you. We've all become a little bit more aware of our own body language, and I think that's the first step in communicating effectively. So once we're aware of the messages we're sending and the nonverbal cues we're sending, we're able to practice that and communicate more effectively. No matter what we say with our words, no matter what we say with our mouths in conversation, the biggest teller of what we're really trying to say is how we practice our body language. I have a really bad feeling my zipper was down that entire time. So if it was, I'm sorry. I thought that.
You're supposed to imagine the audience in the room.
I know. You made it in time. Was that okay? Yeah. Okay.
So Jesse, what did you think?
My initial impressions were that you were dressed for the occasion, so that helped. Your thesis was very clear, like from your presentation, the whole starting with like asking the audience how our poses are. What I really liked was how you had note cards. Like you were very interactive with the audience. Your thesis is really clear. I knew exactly what you were going to talk about. You had a good preview of everything. You were pretty clear with transitions. For example, you used phrases like to begin. You were very smooth. You didn't really stop and say like or like anything like that. You cited your sources, all the studies and all that. I know exactly where you got them from. Your delivery, you were very confident. Like I said, you were looking at the audience the whole time. And your conclusion, you basically summed up the whole presentation in a couple of statements. What I really liked is how, like I said, you were very interactive with the audience, and you were able to see how other people changed their pose without affecting how you delivered your presentation. Like, you were able to notice that. So overall, I thought it was a really good presentation.
Yeah.
All right, well, I thought you had a good use of your immediate experience with the posture and referring to the audience there as a way of getting us involved, and your attention was very effective there. The subject is nicely identified. You've got an excellent layout of what the supporting structure is going to be. I'd agree with Jesse. I think you've got very good transition language as you're moving from one point to another, so there's no problem there at all. On the supporting material, most of it I understood where it came from. There were pretty good references. I'm still trying to figure out where you got the 5,000 gestures numbers, whether that's from Arabian or whether it's from something else. Let's see. Like I said, all the structural stuff was very good. The visuals were fine. You know, they're mostly signposts. You're depending on displays for a lot of things. So you're showing us when you do the posture seated or standing, and you give us those very images. I thought that it was very clear when you were talking about the gender identification that's associated with particular poses. That you illustrated that, and obviously you got the reaction from the audience because everybody could pick those things out pretty effectively. Since you stepped on half of what I'm going to be talking about when we come back from the break, we'll have to be a little bit careful about too much criticism there, because then I'll be criticizing my own examples. I thought, as usual, you delivered it very effectively. Look, you know the subject, you're interested in it, you're talking to us very effectively. I think that you use your voice well. That 38% that is nonverbal, that is not the body language per se, but it's the paralinguistic cues that we're talking about. I think you do a very good job on that. The one place that maybe there's a little bit of an issue is pacing. It feels like you're rushing a little bit, and you finish with 6 minutes and 44 seconds, so you've got another minute. Pacing yourself out a little bit, that's probably anxiety issues, maybe a little bit that kicks in that energy level to get you going there. All right, thank you. So long. Apparently you have tennis.